Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to talk travel, writing, amazing places with Crystal Adair Benning. So, welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yeah, so I connected with you over on Facebook and saw that besides writing, which is something I'm interested in learning more about and trying to focus on, I also see that you have these amazing workshops coming up to Niagara Falls, New Zealand, and Mexico. So go ahead and tell us how the writing and travel kind of came together for you.
Yeah, listen, I've been a digital nomad for 2 decades. I feel like we never sit still, or at least I never have. So for 2 decades, I've been doing it. And then about 4 years ago, when I met my husband and married him, he kind of signed on board and figured out his way of being a digital nomad as well. So we've been traveling the world quite a bit. And in saying that, I was like, everybody runs a writer's retreat. That's an easy thing to do. I want to do it in cool freaking places that I want to be in. So this year's events have all been all of my favorite places. So Niagara on the Lake is actually where we used to live. So we're going back to where we used to live for an event. Mexico is our favorite getaway. We're Canadian, so it's like a standard, oh my God, it's too cold here, get me the heck out of here. And then New Zealand is the only other place I ever called home that I fell in love with. So I've been back and forth living off and on in New Zealand for the last 20 years.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so it's a chance to
Wow.
it's a chance to be in my other home, so to speak, and run
Yeah.
events. So yeah, that's how they all kind of came about. And next year's plans is to take them even more exciting locations. We're looking at Iceland. We are looking at Italy and some other cool places and spaces. So
Wow. So how many people generally do you have on these workshops?
yeah, it really depends. So the minimum number is two. I've done as tiny a workshop as two people showing up, which is super rad. You get a lot of one-on-one time with me if you show up and there's only two of you, let me tell you. Um, but most of the time it's between, I would say, 4 to 8 people is kind of where we cap out. I keep them small and intimate. The idea is you show up at a space, you're given your own room. Meals are very basic. We actually cook them ourselves, so it's not fancy. You're not coming for the food, you're coming for the writing time. So it's a great space, your own space, good food, and a lot to learn. And that's really kind of the way we make it special. Every event, we try and do something unique, something different, something that feels attached to the place that we're doing it in, just to kind of make it interesting. But these are really a chance for people to like hone in on their creativity and write the thing that they've been dreaming about, talking about, making plans for, but never seem to have the time for it. And that's what we're here doing.
So have people actually, like you said, left, like started there with like just some random stuff and ended up publishing
Oh
something?
God, all the time. It happens all the time. Like people will show up going, a lot of times even people show up going, if I was around to write a book, I have no idea how to write a book or what I want to write a book about. Right. I hear that very, very often. I love those humans. They're actually some of my favorites when they show up and they say, I want to write a book. I just don't even know what it's going to be about. Cool. We
Yeah.
can figure it out together. So we do, there's a lot of talk about strategy and planning. So we figure out like what's your intentionality behind writing the book? What do you want to do with it? Is it just a legacy piece? Do you just want to tell your story? Is it something you want to use to get on stages or screen? Is it a marketing piece that you're using for your business, perhaps? So we want to know the strategy behind it. And then we sit and plot out, well, if you were to write that book, how would we best do it? And there's some tools and tips and tricks, of course, along the way. We do, I do educate and teach about storytelling and how to become a master storyteller. And then you guys actually get a full day to do writing and have me guide the process. So you guys go off and write. And I'm here along the way to step in every few hours and kind of say, hey, let's take a look at what you're writing. I'll give you some feedback, some support, some guidance, and just kind of be there for you. So yeah, it's a fantastic way. And we always finish it off with, how do you market and launch your book? How do you make it a bestseller?
Yes.
It's
Well,
just
even
crazy.
and like, do you self-publish? Do you look for someone
Oh,
else to help you? I mean, it's like there's so
yeah.
many things. I mean, I even looked at like uploading to Amazon. You kind of have to know where to even start with
Oh, yeah.
getting it
That's
to
a whole weekend retreat just
yeah.
on its own, let's be real. Um, but there's, my focus really is like, how do we get you to write the book? And then after the book is written, how do we turn it into a really big marketing piece? Sorry, strange noises around here. Um, how do we turn it into a great marketing piece, and how do we actually get it sold so that it becomes a bestseller? And that's quote unquote one of the best kept secrets in writing
Yes.
a book, is how do you get it to become a bestseller? And so that's really kind of my focus, is not only the writing, but actually doing something with it once it's done.
Yeah. So I know you've written quite a bit. What would you say is your favorite genre of writing for yourself?
I don't write a lot for myself actually ever. I write for everybody else.
Okay.
So, as a ghostwriter, I rarely write my own work. I have one book in my own name, and even then, I've recently pulled it because I just it was me like 6 years ago, and it was kind of my story, and I kind of got tired of being recognized for my story, and I wanted really my clients to shine, so I pulled my book. But the books I love writing are all about mindset. They're often for
Oh,
coaches. They're often about travel or experiences that people have had. They're really kind of creating a blueprint for somebody else to get through something. Those are my absolute favorite books. I've been really blessed to be involved in four New York Times bestsellers that had really great stories behind them. Um, and one just actually came across my desk this morning that I'm like, fingers crossed, like this book, I
yes.
really want to do it. The story is so different, but real and so needed in this climate. So I think my favorite book changes based on what I'm writing at the time, if I'm totally honest. But business books, mindset books, things that are going to help people achieve success in their own way, those are my favorite books to write.
Do you think people that are a little bit older find value in getting their story out? Because I find, especially older travelers, they've been so many amazing places sometimes, and
Oh gosh, yeah.
they,
I mean,
the computer's a challenge. They're just hesitant to like do something. It's like I tell people all the time, these older travelers, it's like
yeah.
you've got so many amazing stories. Are you gonna
Oh my
share
gosh.
that? It's like,
Yeah, like I wish my grandparents had written books, honestly. Like, all of my grandparents have sadly since passed, but I look back fondly on their lives, and I really wish that they had written their stories down so that I had something to look back on and be like, wow, that was really freaking cool. I can't believe my grandparents did that. Years later, still hearing stories that kind of pop up at family vacations, like, oh, remember the time grandma did this or papa did that? You're like, what? When did that happen? So I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, it's no different than our parents too, right? Like, how well do you really know your parents?
that's so
How well
true.
do you really know their stories and what happened? Most of us don't even take the time to ask. Our parents know our whole lives, and we only actually know a very small portion of theirs, which is just stunning to me. So, starting to see more parents and grandparents really step in the bandwagon and want to write stories, if only to tell their story so that their legacy can exist for their kids. Um, you know, sure, some of us have incredible stories. We all have an incredible story. I think that about 80% of us should probably write those stories. About 20% of us need to just keep them under the wraps.
Yeah.
Don't write that story. And the only people I truly tell to not write stories are people who are writing from the wound instead of from the healed space. So if you've been through something mega traumatic in your life and you have not done the hard work of healing it, you shouldn't write it, only because you shouldn't be passing your trauma vicariously onto others without
Yeah.
even understanding it. So when I meet somebody and I can tell that they're in the thick of it, so to speak, they're in the trauma wound, they haven't healed it yet. Those are usually the only people that I'm like, your story is brilliant. Go do some healing first. Call me in 2 to 3 years when you're healed, and then let's talk about the lessons learned. It's really hard to write a book from the wound. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
can't.
Right.
Yeah, you can, but it's not great.
Yeah.
It feels like watching a train wreck or a car crash. You're just sitting there going, oh God, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And we as humans really like the bow on the end. Whether the bow is happy
Right.
or sad, we don't really care so much about that. We just want the bow tied at the end. We want to know what happens. So if you can't tell us the what happens of the end, it doesn't work for us.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's important, the why. Like, why are you telling me this story? What's the purpose? If it's just
And
all pain and
Listen, we've all been there when somebody's like opened up to us and told us a story. We've been like, why did you share that with me?
yeah,
Where is
yeah.
that coming from? And you don't want to be that person. Like, it needs to be intentional. And I think that's the thing that I drive home with everybody is every story that gets turned into a book should be intentional. It's different from sitting by a campfire and telling a story. It's different from standing on a stage and telling a story. We write differently, we speak differently, right? They have to be two separate tools, and you need to know not how to manipulate them, but how to make them work, right? I'm not about manipulation. I am about understanding the mechanics and having it work for you.
Right. And having it paint puts you in a good light, so to speak, because you have to realize too some of these books, unless you, like you said, you pull it. I mean, now with the internet, we all know you say you put it out there, it's out there.
It's out
It's
there forever. Yeah. So for me, for example, so I wrote a book for myself a few years ago. It was 6 or 7 years ago now. And the book was all about my journey through cancer. And it was tied to the career path that I was on at the time, which was I was a luxury wedding planner.
oh
And so it was
wow.
all tied together. And I was talking about weddings and I was talking about cancer. And um, in the end, like the message was solid. The message was through love, we can heal and help all things. Love the message, still believe in the message. What I didn't love was every single call that I ever stepped on for the next 7 years would talk about my cancer journey, even if I wasn't there to talk about cancer.
Yeah.
And I got really tired of being the cancer girl. And
Right.
so I pulled the book and said, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I really want to talk about, how do other people write their stories? How do we craft tales? How can we be better storytellers? How can we help the next generation? How can we improve our world through words? That's the stuff I love talking about. Me having cancer, that's old news. That was my
Yeah.
20s. I am long past that now. I am in my 40s. Like, I barely remember my 20s these days, never mind experiencing it. So that was 20 years ago. If you want to talk cancer, maybe you should talk to somebody who actually has cancer right now.
Oh
They'll be
yeah.
able to tell you more clearly what having cancer in today's age looks like, because 20 years is a long time in
Yeah.
medical research.
Oh, of course. So much has changed. I mean,
Yeah. I have a friend going through cancer treatment right now, bless her. Her experience is completely different from what I went through. And we have the exact same type of cancer, but completely different, because she called me originally when she got her diagnosis. She called and asked for feedback, and I was like, okay, well, this is what I did, and this is how I did it, and da 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 da. And she's like, whoa, none of that was even an option for me. Like, it's now this, this, and this. And I was like, those were never options for me.
right. Yeah.
So I'm super grateful that they are for you now. That means we're advancing. Congrats. I'm super excited for you, but those were never options for me. So I can't help you with what to do or my experience with it because it didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. So talk a little bit more about Niagara's the next destination
Yeah,
writing
I love
retreat, right?
Niagara. Yeah.
And it's
So it's Niagara on the Lake specifically,
yeah,
which
okay.
is like vineyards and quaint, cute little town, very charming, known for its fruit, known for its vines. If you like wine, if you like peaches, you're in the right spot. We actually used to own a peach farm in Niagara on the Lake. It is our home away from home. It is the place that my husband and I still go back there and call it home. It's the only other part of Canada next to Vancouver Island that we've ever felt home to us. Um, and we wanted to do something back there just for nostalgia, for memories. I think, people forget that writing a book is often a walk down memory lane, right? And so I
Right.
wanted to specifically choose this place, this moment, this time with these people, to show them a piece of my history and a piece of our history and what life has been like for us and what we've done. So that's why Niagara on the Lake. This is going to be one of the more laid back events that we have. We're going to drink some wine for those that like wine. We're going to eat all the fresh fruit for those who don't. Um, I even have plans to bake a pie, for goodness sake.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
like, we are going to go all out in Niagara country vintage. Like, we're going to have some fun with it. And I want to show people the town and my favorite places to go and where I would write on days when I couldn't stay in my office anymore and all that kind of stuff. So this will be Niagara on the Lake will be a super fun one. The one after that is Tulum, Mexico, known as a sacred space. For those clients of mine who are writing spiritual books, which happens often, I have a lot of woo-y clients.
Yeah.
Whether it's sacred geometry, whether it's witchcraft, whether it's just religions in general, whether it's business coaching and karma and um, all of that stuff. This is the space for those clients to really kind of come and center themselves and get grounded and write from a really spiritual, magical place. So I'm excited for the clients that are coming to Tulum. We've rented a villa.
Oh, wow.
We've got a Mexican chef coming in. We've got all kinds of fun surprises. It's a little like it's going to be laid back, but very hippie bougie. Is what my
Ooh.
husband's been referring to it as. It's the hippie bougie event. And then our third one is straight back to New Zealand, which we've already been in New Zealand once this year. We did a beautiful event on Waiheke Island, just off the coast of Auckland. And we had an incredible weekend away. It rained the entire time, which is to me the perfect writing weather. We had a hot tub in the evenings. We cooked great food. We sat by a roaring fire. It was magic. And then we went zip lining
Oh my
because
gosh.
we were in the vineyards and outdoorsy, and we wanted to go zip lining, so we went zip lining on that one. This time we're going back, but we're going to Wanaka. So for those who haven't been to Wanaka, it's down near Queenstown. Queenstown is the closest airport.
Okay.
You'll fly into Queenstown, rent a car, or we might carpool it even, depending on how many people are there. And we're going to go to a little chalet in Wanaka, which is a beautiful little town right on the water. It's quaint, it's cute, it's so charming. It's known for outdoor activities and adventure. We are going to go outside, possibly take a hike and get in some crazy mountain views, and then we're going to write our little hearts out. And Wanaka holds another special place in my heart. It's actually where I am ready to, if you ask me today, Crystal, where do you want to buy a house? I would tell you Wanaka, New Zealand.
Really?
So,
Oh my gosh.
100% I would choose Wanaka. So it is another place that's super close to my heart, which is part of the reason we're going back. And it'll just be coming into summer there. So we're going to enjoy the fruits and joy of Wanaka, which will mimic kind of the Niagara on the Lake is the Canadian summer experience, and Wanaka is kind of the New Zealand summer experience while we're there. So
Oh,
can't wait.
nice. So, do you have tips for people who we all want to write more? Those of us that are actually
Yeah.
interested in writing or we're taking travels. And the hard part is oftentimes you travel, you go on the trip, and then you get back and your memories have shifted. It's hard to like just like
Yeah.
asking me what happened last week. It's like, well, I don't know.
So part of the retreat is like figuring out what the book's going to be about, and then kind of doing a strategy session and figuring out all those little bits and pieces. But anybody who's ever wanted to write, the short answer is just do it,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's no magic to writing except that you have to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. You have to figure that part out yourself. I will tell you this, and I tell everybody this, and I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart because it stands for my stuff too. Your first draft is your worst draft. So don't look at page 1 and judge it against somebody's page 10,000, right? Somebody who's put in 10,000 pages has got mastery. Page 1, don't expect mastery. Don't expect wizardry. Don't even expect magic. Just expect words. Can we cut ourselves some slack?
Yeah.
But the benefit of writing is that you get better as you write. And the more you write, especially if you know the thing you're writing about, only you can ever write it in a way that's going to do it justice. You can tell me about your trip to Italy, but I wasn't there. I didn't smell the smells, see the things, hear the things, do the things that you did. So even if I've been to Italy 100 times, I didn't go to that little cafe on the coast, and I wasn't served by that little old man with the mustache, and I didn't sit next to the lady who had her dog in her purse that she was feeding from the table.
Right.
I didn't witness that. I could write that for you, but it will never be the same as you telling us about her purple shirt and how it rode up just a little on the corner and it made you laugh because the dog would like lick her, you know, muffin top every time
Yeah.
she moved. We don't know these things unless you tell them to us. So the first step is actually writing. The second step is what every writer has to do, whether we're professional or not. It's called an editor. Da da da.
Yeah.
Like they should come with their own jazz soundtrack, I'm convinced at
Yeah,
this
yeah,
point.
it really should. I think
But
that's so true for so many of us. I mean,
right,
with the way we talk, we just continue talking often. We don't know how to format a sentence, or it's all been lost, that whole.
100%. But that's why the beautiful, wonderful land of editors exists. And that's why we pay them and why we love and loathe the editor, because the editor will fix it up for you. So that's the joy of working with people. So many of us expect us to be, professional writers on day one. And the truth is, a professional writer wasn't a professional writer on day one. Took us years of practice. And what I am really skilled at, maybe you're not, but I promise you, you have some skill that I do not. Right? My mom's always like, I can't write. And I'm like, great, I can't draw.
Yeah.
My mom can draw incredibly well. I can't. It's not my skill set. So if I want to draw, I'll ask her for assistance. If she wants to write, she should come to me. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that's excellent. So you still have spaces in the Niagara trip?
I do. Yeah. Actually, all three of them currently have a little bit of space. New Zealand is almost sold out. I've only got one space left, which is pretty crazy at this point.
Yeah, that is
Um,
crazy.
yeah, New Zealand, we were not intending to be in New Zealand, actually. We had originally planned to do one on Vancouver Island at the end of the year. But turns out New Zealand was a big hit, and we actually were overbooked for New Zealand. So we're going back to run another one in New Zealand. It was quite popular, especially with our overseas clients. So we had a lot of people fly in for New Zealand. I think it's a bucket list trip for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
so
say, I think there's a lot of interest in New Zealand, especially after
yeah,
unfortunately being shut out of some of these places. Now it's like I want to, I want to go. I
100%.
want to get in.
100%. And the retreats, I've kept the price point super low in order to appeal to just about everybody. So they're only $2,500 US. It doesn't include you getting to the retreat or leaving the retreat. That's on you. But what it does include is your accommodations, your food, even though it's basic, all of the trainings, and my support while you're on site. So it's super low price to just to appeal to as many people as possible and make it a fun weekend away. So what I'm actually seeing a lot of is girlfriends getting together and being like, let's go do this thing. Like, we've been talking about a book for years. Like, let's just go
Yeah.
and do it. And what I consistently find is the quality of the stories inside the room. You never know, but they all seemingly have these incredible linkages to one another that we end up figuring out very quickly. And so, our last New Zealand retreat, the tie was love. Every
Oh.
single book that people were writing, whether it was a business book, a poetry book, a kid's story book, the theme underlying all three of their four of their stories, four of their stories was love.
Oh my goodness.
Every single one was telling a story about love. And when we've done it in Australia, the theme was leadership,
Wow.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's just fascinating to me. I don't plan it. I don't ask a lot in advance. What's your book about? I like to get a sense of, like, is it a poetry book? Is it a young adult fiction book? Is it a business book? Just so I can tailor what I'm teaching. But I don't know the stories until you guys share them on the day of the retreat, and that's part of the fun.
Yeah. Speaking of collective efforts like that, have you ever done something where you've worked with a group of people that want to actually do a collaborative effort?
So I have in my professional career, I've never done it on top in terms of a retreat, but I've definitely worked with people who want to do collaborative. The one thing I will say about collaborative books is this: they're a lot more work than people think they are.
Oh, okay.
If you're the person organizing the collaborative book, it's a lot of work because you are going to constantly chase people for their piece. You're responsible for finding the editor, making sure that the editor's doing it, making sure that the book, the edited version goes back to the author, they make the edits, hand it back to you, it goes back to the editor. It's a lot of back and forth. For me, it's not worth it. And I actually just prefer working one-on-one with clients these days.
Yeah.
But collaborations are a great way. If you're not sure about doing a full book, a collaboration can be a great idea. Um, you just have to be patient and be the person willing to navigate humans.
Right.
It's a lot of navigating the humans. It's not the writing was the challenge, it's the navigating of the humans.
Right, right. I imagine, yeah, just getting people to turn in what they need to
Oh my
do.
gosh.
But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just seems for like for some of us, it might be that good first step to just be responsible
Mhm.
for a chapter or, part of something else instead of like,
So you can attend a book retreat though, and instead of doing a major book, like a lot of people think of books retreats as like, I need a book that's this big when I'm done.
yeah,
It really doesn't work that way. Most people actually write these little thin things as books, and we're actually seeing a major uptick in the selling of smaller books because people don't want to read tomes anymore. They
yes,
want to get through something in 2, 3, 4 hours. They don't want to sit on their shelves for 10 years. They want to get to the point. So you don't have to have a long book to have a brilliant book.
that's an excellent point. I think that sums it up right there. To not
Yeah,
overthink it, especially when you think about your own purchasing habits. A lot of us, yeah, we're taking a flight and all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, I have a couple of hours to read, and what can I buy put on my Kindle, my phone, whatever.
100%.
That's short enough,
Like
you want to finish it.
this, so I have this book on my desk right now, 101 essays that will change the way you think. It's one of my favorite things right now because it's literally 101 essays that are only like 4 to 6 pages long max. Some of them
Wow.
are only like a page and a half. And I get a quick hit. I can do this between calls. I can, goodness, I could take this to the bathroom. I could take this on a plane. I've taken this in the car. And you just read as much as you have time for, and you don't feel like, oh gosh, I can't finish it, or oh, it's at the climax. Like, hold on, I need
Right.
5 more minutes. Like, you're not that way. I love that. I get my dopamine fix. I get my read on. I get my dopamine fix. I learn something new, and then I can move forward. And I'm starting to fall in love with books that are more and more that way. These long readers. I mean, I have a lot of long readers on my desk. Um, I can't tell you that I finished many of them. I, like most people, have not finished many of them.
Right.
So I would rather write a small book somebody's actually going to read than a long tome that's going to become somebody's bookend.
Right. Or eventually, yeah, just be propping up everything else on your
Prop up
desk.
a door and yeah, like 100%. Like I use books often to prop up my laptop when I'm on calls. Like I don't
Yeah.
want my book to become that. I want somebody to actually be like, no, I respect this book and I love it enough. It's not a prop for using under a laptop.
Great. Well, I know you got to run off today, Crystal. Where can people find you? Sign up for these amazing workshops. I love that it's a simple price for each and every one of them.
Super easy. Yeah. So you go to wordmagiccopywriting.com. And if you click the button under retreats, you will find the retreats. If it's something else you're looking for, whether it's copywriting or ghostwriting, you'll find it all on there. There's a billion ways to connect with me on that website. I'm pretty convinced at this point. So just reach out and I'm happy to support you guys and get you moving towards going on a writer's retreat. If it's something new you're considering for travel, it's a brilliant way to travel. And it's
See,
low key and chill and just super fun. You'll meet a great group of people, I promise.
I love that. That's what's drawing me to do it exactly. Just that whole thing, doing something fun in a relaxed way, but come out with something, much more memorable at the end. You're never going to forget that experience.
Yeah, that's the goal. Make it memorable, put it on paper.
Thank you so much, Crystal, and reach out to Crystal at
Wordmagiccopywriting.com.
thanks.
Thank you.